Hiya, I'm going to show you this makeup look from scratch today. It's a really soft, shimmery look. If you're not the most confident with eyeshadows or with blending, I think you'll really like following this technique. You can use it with whichever palette you've got, but it just means that you're not putting any harsh lines into the eye makeup, but you're still getting all of the definition. I've also gone into a bit of detail about how to cover things like redness or hyperpigmentation, so if that's something that you're looking for, this will be the video for you. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description of the video, so if you click to make it full screen, the title will come up along the top, click the arrow next to it and a full list of everything will drop down. Okay, my skin's quite dry this week, and as you can see, it's particularly red. I've just finished my prescriptions and I'm going to start something else for my rosacea, so I'll keep you posted on that. But for now, I'm going to go in with the Vichy Aqualia Volcano Drops. They're essentially a really nice hydrating lotion, but it's still soft enough to wear under your makeup, because I think sometimes when your skin is particularly dry, you have to find the balance between giving it the drink of water it needs, but then also not using something so rich that it then moves your complexion product. So I'm making sure I take this all over, and then I'm going to go in today, back in again, with the Suit Q Cream Foundation. Now, I used this recently in a video, and it's essentially, they've done a lot of work on this foundation and really rejigged it. And then since I used it, I've been on a Zoom to learn a bit more about it. So I just thought I'd revisit it and give you a bit more information. This is a really kind of dense gel. And what I would say to you is, when this first went on, especially when I first tried it, the colour didn't seem quite right, but then when I melted it down, it melts down really well. So already, let's be honest, that looks a bit scary. But this is one of those things that when you melt it between the hands and work it in, you're going to be... Let's try this again. Do you know what the annoying thing about that is? I know this sounds ridiculous, but in the small bit of time it took me to put that back on the frame, that has completely melted down. But I can show you on the other sides just how quickly it will adapt. So hopefully you can see there, we got there in the end. I mean, I have completely lost my train of thought at this point. Okay, back to the Zoom then. So basically, lovely makeup artist Judy Jacobs, I'll put her profile here, she has worked with Suit Q to really drastically expand the shade range. So you're soon going to see 23 shades in this. But also she's made it really clear about kind of dividing them into undertone categories. So you can really clearly identify from the off when you're navigating, you know, which one is going to be for you by that undertone differentiation. And she was saying as well that for now it's great to have all of those extensions, but moving forward, the way that they've done it means that it would just be a case of kind of building on those shade families if they ever want to expand in any of their other complexion things. Okay, I'm in quite harsh daylight here. I'm just going to powder over some of these areas that are particularly shiny. And then, because they're just a bit distracting while I'm trying to carry on with this makeup. This is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores powder. And I'm pressing this in rather than rubbing it in, because it really gives you like a much more blurred finish over any areas of pores. There we go. And then before I fully powder the face, I just want to add a little bit of warmth everywhere, because I want to just bronze up a bit today. So I'm going to go in with Mario's contour sticks. I know that looks really bright, but you'll be amazed actually at how well these melt down. Just to show you the end, it's kind of a brush with little bumps on it, and I need to actually do a bit of research into what the purpose of the bumps is, but ultimately I think it just helps you to really softly blend out. And also, you know, like for me, how I'm always saying don't use too much pressure. You could, in theory, use the softest little touch. You're not using a really dense brush all over the complexion. You're just using those little nodules to add a little touch of warmth and spread this out. Now, next step, I'm going to quickly go through these brows, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker liner and a lighter lipstick to make the lips look a bit fuller. and a little bit of Cruella lipstick. I'm just going to use a brush to kind of blend the two together. Okay, now I've just remembered, Dawn, you wanted me to show you how to cover spider veins, and Laura, you were asking about hyperpigmentation. So I'm just going to kind of take a bit of the Suit foundation off and go back in with some concealer. Let me dry that as well. Just give me 1 second to get some cotton. So what I want you to do, whatever you're trying to cover, is when you apply your concealer, go around and more than the area that you're trying to cover. So I'm going to take some concealer on the back of my hand, warm it up, and then put it onto the area. Now, there's a number of reasons why I do this, but in particular, say for me with redness, if I put a product directly onto there and then I'm having to rub it to warm it up and melt it down, that's going to irritate the area even more. So I'm just going to do all of the hard work on my hand and then really gently buff this in and go beyond the area that I'm trying to cover. Just making sure I've got just enough. Okay, we've really spread that out. Now the next thing I want you to do is soften the edge and make sure that that coverage is blending perfectly into the rest of your makeup, but you're only softening the edge. You're not softening the concealer that is on that area, because if I go rubbing that area, I'm just going to lift that concealer off. Then you're going to go in with a powder and press the powder on. We don't want to take away any of this coverage or lift it off. We're using the lightest touch and just pressing powder on to seal it in. And I know that might look quite full now, but give it 10 minutes. When it's kind of sat on your skin and it's nice and warm, that will soften into a really fresh, natural finish. Now, in terms of hyperpigmentation, Laura, what I'd say to you is whatever you're looking to correct on your face, whether it's redness, hyperpigmentation, dark circles, I want you to look at it and think, what colour is this? And then I want you to Google a colour wheel and find its polar opposite colour. So for example, with redness, you find that there are lots of green colour correctors. And if someone that doesn't have redness uses that green, it just looks, you know, out of place. So with your hyperpigmentation, have a look at it, identify which colour is the strongest, find something in the opposite colour, put that on first and then put your concealer on top, and that will give you the best coverage because you've corrected the colour, and then put a concealer on that matches your natural complexion. Because say, for example, if it was a blue under eye circle, you'd want to put a bit of peach or orange. But then if I was to put orange around my eyes now, that's going to look a bit strange. And that's why you put your concealer in your flesh colour over the top of the orange to kind of blur over what you've just done. Okay, let's get back. I'm just going to take the tiniest bit more bronzer where I've kind of gone over that sculpting with the new concealer. I'm going to lightly powder the whole face. I'm not putting lots of pressure on or even lots of powder on. I just want to make my face a bit more velvety to the touch because I'm going to layer some powders over the top now. And if I put powder on anything that's still dewy to the touch, it's just going to cling. And then I'm just going to take a few bits and pieces. This is a new NARS Orgasm Blush Palette. I'm going to use the same brush for all of this. A little touch of highlighter, this kind of gold shade, through the cheeks. I know I'm working backwards, but I'll be honest with you, I'm going to use the eye makeup of this video as a TikTok as well. So I'm getting everything ready so that when my eyes are done, I'm completely done. So nice little bit of highlighter. I'm going to mix a little bit of pink and peach to go through the cheeks. And the nice thing about using a little stippling brush like this is that it's a much more soft buildable way to apply your makeup, because again, you're not getting a dense wash of colour with this because it's so soft. It's going to really gently brush those colours on. Okay, something a bit different. I think these colours are absolutely beautiful if I can open it for you. This is an RMS Beauty palette and I'm going to do my eyes with this. Now the nice thing about colours like this, those kinds of soft shimmers, is that there's no real harsh lines. They'll all just kind of blend into one, and they're really good if you're not the most confident with your makeup skills and you just want something easy to apply that's not going to look messy in any way. Alison, you'd said to me recently you wanted something to apply to your eyes, you've got some fine lines and you feel like everything moves. These kinds of shimmery colours, whatever your favourite colours are, if you go for that shimmery texture, it just means that even when it melts away, you can give it a little buff with your finger and it's going to be undetectable. I'm going to start with this highlighter shade and really highlight the eyes. Then I'm going to go in with this all over the lids. And do you see what I mean? There's no harsh lines here. You can't see where anything begins and ends. It's just like a wash of colour all over, okay? I'm going to take a touch of the purple just in the outer corners. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush to tickle some of that purple under the lash line. And really go back in to those inner corners now. And then do you know what? I'm going to leave them like that because I feel like you can see the contrast between the colours, but that's just enough to show that you don't need to spend all day blending. Put a little wash in the right places and crack on with the rest of your day. Okay, to set that off, pardon me, I feel like a black brown will just work with the lilac that bit more nicely. So I'm going to go in with Clinique High Impact Mascara. And then, hear me out, but now that I've got the mascara on, I feel like it could use like a tiny bit of a blend. I'm just going to take a clean brush. I would always say to you, I know washing your brushes is a ball ache. I did mine yesterday and it took me the entire first half of the England match. So I do get it. But even if you just had one or two brushes washed at all times and one of them was completely clean, a clean brush, like that has completely softened that out, hasn't it? And it just makes such a difference. So do keep a little tool to hand to just take the edge off. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know, as always, if you've got any questions or things you want to see a video on, and I'll work on it for you. But have a lovely rest of the weekend and I'll chat to you soon.